countdown snap because like a little 30
yeah.
seconds.
Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of Klopp Talk. We've decided to do a scheduled show out of our normal Thursday 10 o'clock edition. We've obviously received breaking news, and what we wanted to do was share our thoughts, our opinions on Klopp's announcement to step down from Liverpool Football Club. But before we get into any discussion, we'd like to welcome our panel today. Good evening, Dr. Blake. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm here. I think that's what I can say right now. I'm here.
Listen, it's all good. And we have somebody new to the show as well, to the panel, another Liverpool historian, Marcus. Good evening, sir, and welcome to Klopp Talk.
Evening,
how are you?
Jim. Evening, I'm good. I'm ready to get into it, man.
That's good. I know.
I've been waiting to chew the fat with somebody.
Perfect. And I think that's one of the good things as well. I think for me, we'll probably have an opportunity to go through. I think for me, when I heard the news, it felt like one of the Dallas moments with JR who done it. Marcus, where were you and what were you doing when the news broke yesterday about Jurgen Klopp deciding to step down from Liverpool FC?
I was in the gym, so I was kind of oblivious to it. And I came out the gym, got into my car, and I had like 8 or 9 missed calls just from random friends. But there was a thread, they were all Man United fans. And then I kind of didn't think nothing of it, looked in the WhatsApp group, saw someone posted something about Klopp leaving. I thought, nah, that's not true. Went on to Sky Sports and I just, saw the devastating news. Yeah, it was a shocker, man. I'm not going to lie. That one there, that was a burner. That one hit me.
Dr. Blake, where were you when the news broke on Friday?
Yeah, so I was at home trying to do some work. Well, I wasn't trying to do some work. Like I actually was doing some work. And then, I saw a post on Twitter, but no, when you just skim reading, and I saw something and I thought to myself, that can't be right. And then I read the post again, and then I thought, what? And then I saw the actual post they were talking about, the club's website, and that saying Klopp had left. And yeah, man, that was my afternoon like squashed. I was meant to be like working about 9 hours yesterday. Like I worked about 3. So Klopp, I'm sending you some bills, bruv, because you've killed my days earning for the day. So yeah, I want some remittance in it. So because my day crashed after that. It crashed. It crashed.
Listen, it was. Good evening, Chris. Chris felt, what's Chris mentioned, felt like I was shocked when I saw the news. Still didn't check it, ain't real. His final game at Anfield is going to be emotional. That's true. I think, what's our last game? I think, is it against Wolves?
Wolves.
Against Wolves. So, Chris, I 100% agree with you. I think there's going to be a lot of thoughts and emotions between the supporters, players, everybody involved in Liverpool between now and the end of the season. But 100%, I agree with you that that's going to be an emotional day there. That last game of the season. So let us just rewind a little while backwards. Klopp had his contract extension, and initially he was saying that I think that contract's going to be until 2026. Even though I know from the interview that he gave on Liverpool TV, he mentioned that yes, he was thoroughly committed to the club, committed to go into 2026. What do you reckon had changed from him signing a contract to what you mentioned on Friday, Dr. Blake?
Yeah, so I honestly think maybe he's just been trying to put like a brave face on certain things and just wanting to almost transition the club into a place of stability. So maybe it might have been a case of if last season had gone well, then he may have left like last season. I just think Klopp being who he is, like he wouldn't want to leave things when like we was in like a bad place, like for us. So maybe he had intended to do it, thought that actually his initial thoughts would have been that actually I can't do this, but actually like I can't leave right now. And maybe like he wanted to see out his contract, but then ultimately he was just a bit burnt out, as he said, man. And I just think, yeah, I'd rather him trust in his own emotions and his own being and kind of like choose that actually I can't do this to the same level that I feel that this job needs, rather than staying on and doing what other managers have done and then just like burn down the house because they just don't want to leave. So I just think, yeah, he's obviously like kind of done some soul searching and just realized that actually like I don't have what it takes to kind of like keep on going. So hands up to the man.
Your thoughts, Marcus? Marcus, did you have the opportunity to watch, see the full interview at all on Liverpool TV?
Yeah, I watched it like as soon as it came out. To be honest, you know what? I just think Klopp is very good at. He's a good company man. Like he'll represent the company. He'll always be early to work, and he'll be the last one to leave the office. So he's never gonna cause any rumblings with the board, with the owners. But I just think it was getting to a point where I think he wanted to exact more control. And I think that fight with some of the board and the owners around that, I think him not always getting his way. But then, do you know what I mean? He kind of showed them that he's in control, really. Like, if he doesn't get his own way, things kind of go left on field. But yeah, I just think that whole fight with the owners and money and just the way he feels he needs to do it, I just don't think he was up for it. I don't think he was up for having another season like we had last season. And
yeah, that's interesting that you're saying it as well, Marcus. And I mean, I'm just pointing out to both you and anybody that's tuned into the show as well. I don't have any answers to some of the questions that I'm going to be mentioning, gents. I'm just mentioning that straight out, yeah. So we're aware that we still required another sporting director as well. But with Klopp leaving, whatever manager comes in afterwards, they're probably going to inherit possibly the same concerns that Klopp's going to have. So the backroom staff's going to go, well, there's going to be a large amount of the backroom staff that's going to go. We still don't have a sporting director. So who's going to be involved in bringing in the new manager, but then also recruiting a sporting director as well? That's going to be massive. And I wonder if the new manager that comes in is going to be able to communicate with our current owners. Marcus mentioned something just now. Do you think that there were some teething problems behind the scenes then with the hierarchy in terms of how Klopp felt, and that's probably contributed to another factor with his decision to leave?
Personally, I think Personally, I think there is. I think the longer he's been at Liverpool, the more you've seen his frustrations around targets and getting players through the door. And he'll always back the club and say, I don't want to spend, or I don't. But I just think the whole Caicedo thing, apparently what I've been reading is that they went behind his back and made an offer for Caicedo anyway. That's why they bid the 100 and whatever million it was. And he hadn't even spoken to Caicedo, and he doesn't ever do deals without having spoke to the player first.
Right.
And he did say that. Like, he did say that he hasn't spoken to the player
I think at that point we were trying to pull as a club they were trying to pull some kind of marketing strat, like we can tackle it, we can go head to head with the big boys, and then we ended up not getting Lavia, who Klopp had spoken to and wanted. And I just think there are those types of things. You just think to yourself, do I want to? Because he said something that was quite significant to me. He said, we sat down to talk about the summer and targets and pre-season, and he just thought, I can't do this again. So, like,
yeah.
Yeah,
You're
the
right.
second highest paid manager in the league. It's not like him saying he can't do it again. He's not. He doesn't take training. He's not like. What do you mean? He's like. What? I just think for him to go through all of that again. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me, like, I think sometimes as fans we can either be overly critical or overly supportive, or I think sometimes like we're not always balanced. And I just think, look, it didn't take a rocket scientist to work out that all wasn't well behind the scenes. Not to say things were terrible, but I just think going back to the point Marcus made, Klopp's a company man from the viewpoint of, if me and you are having arguments behind the scenes, I'm not going to do like a Jose Mourinho and start leaking it like to the press and all that. I'm just going to handle it professionally. Like we can disagree, and I don't need to like crash the ship. And I think there's probably been quite a few disagreements amongst, I guess, the decision makers for a while that have kind of like led up to this. Because I just think, look, I go back to this, I've said this point numerous times. You cannot appoint a sporting director on the 1st of June. Like, that's a long-term strategic role. Like, you cannot appoint a sporting director. Try and sign Caicedo where Chelsea have approached Caicedo before you've appointed like your own sporting director. Like, these things are like, it's chaos. The fact that Edwards left suddenly and hasn't worked again. Ward comes in, he leaves after a year. Dream job in theory, like you've been in the shadows, you then get the top job and then you leave. There was all the rumors around the whole Henderson deal and the brain trust, as you call it. So like the transfer committee wanting to move him on and Klopp challenging them. And so, look, I just think there's probably been a few incidents over recent seasons that have said that actually not everyone's always in full agreement. And yeah, I just think we've been a bit chaotic, man. Like, I'll even speak to the Trent issue. I think Gravenberch's a baller, absolute baller. I think he's super talented, but I feel like if the club's moving properly and you fully appreciate Trent's transition into midfield, you don't then sign 4 midfielders. You sign 3 and then you put Trent in there, and then you sign a right back. It's these types of things. So if we now want to play Trent in midfield, we've signed 3 new young midfielders.
Yeah.
So when does Trent play in midfield? So it feels like it's not been fully joined up from scouting, recruitment, and Klopp. But I think Klopp's a genius on the actual training pitch. And I just think, yeah, potentially his brilliance is covering up a lack of strategy behind the scenes.
I was going to go on to say that I think why he probably thinks now's the time to announce he's going is because he showed to everyone that he works miracles. Like, I did not see us being top of the league. I did not see playing the football we did with the players in certain positions that they're in. Simicast, Gomez, McAllister in a 6, Curtis Jones, Harvey. I didn't see none of that happening personally at the start of the season. I was hanging my hat on Szoboszlai being amazing. Something that transformed. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I got to give Klopp his juice, man. 100%.
But then equally as well, though, I think Klopp's got a bit lucky in a sense that if Klopp has his vision for the season, we keep Fabinho, and we keep Henderson. Both of them are done. Dead food. Okay, they were dead food from last year, but this season, you watch them play, they're appalling. So this is where I think there's a balance of Klopp not necessarily being the person in full control of when players are leaving, because we know he's got emotional attachments. And can he detach himself in a certain way? Now, it so happens that Saudi Arabia's business model is based on making these players, giving these players crazy contracts. So once Saudi tap you up, you want to go, thank God. But if we keep Fabinho and Hendo, do we still sign the 4 midfielders?
Apparently, though, Klopp told Hendo that he's not going to be playing first team football as regularly as he would be.
He
Apparently, that was
did.
his decision.
He did, but when you see what Klopp's quotes again, he also says to him, however, if you play well, then you can basically play 50 games of the season. So basically, I'm saying to you, you're going to be picked on merit. Well, newsflash, you didn't even picked on merit for the last 3 seasons. Henderson, like the size that he wants to bloody kind of audition to go on Geordie Shore, gets his 6-pack, shows his flipping packs to the press and all that, and then pees off some PR. But anyway, I just think things aren't all well behind the scenes.
And do you possibly think, and as you said, once again, I don't have the answer to this, that's why I'm just posing this question as well. With Klopp obviously speaking about his departure, he had clearly spoken to the backroom staff as well, because as you said, I think there was some period of time looking at the work that Pep Linders is obviously did for us as well. And in terms of, and Klopp's mentioned this, and he's been quite vocal about this. Pep obviously being quite influential in speaking about Trent moving from the right back into midfield. That was more to do with Pep's tactical approach for us. But now with Pep and everybody else moving in, do you think they've moved on because they're part of Klopp's package? You know, some managers, they actually move with, you know, their people. And with Klopp moving on, they've decided to leave as well? Or do you think there's something untowards as well?
I personally think Pep Linders wants to forge his own. I think he wants to try his hand at management. So I don't think Liverpool would offer him the job. So I think he probably thinks it's a good time to go. And I think the rest of them, they know it's a cushy deal. If you're going somewhere with Klopp, you're going to get a job. Apparently, when he signed the extension and he got a pay rise, he didn't take it. He gave the pay rise to his backroom team.
Right.
Yeah, like the guy's a legend like that. Like he's a great man. He's a great human. So I think these types of I think that makes sense. I think with the Pep Linders thing, and it's interesting, right? Because you know sometimes people can become so rigid in their thinking. So someone's just like Pep Linders can't be considered like for the job because he's leaving with Klopp. Someone's just like he can leave with Klopp and then like he can come back as manager, innit? Like,
exactly.
like both things can happen, people. Like newsflash, he can leave and then they can come up and say, do you want the job? Now my view is I don't want him to get the job simply because I just want any manager who we appoint to prove themselves as an actual manager. So yeah, I can see how he is tactically very good. And maybe, I don't know, he proves himself somewhere else in 3, 4, 5 years' time. He'd be a kind of consideration. But I don't want us to go down this route of appointing someone because they're good on the training pitch. Nah, I think you need to, like, we're a world-class club, so we need a world-class manager or somebody who's shown world-class potential. And for me, like, you can't do that from being like a number 2. Like we're not Arsenal, we're going to try to copy Pep Guardiola and get his little brother in and saying, like, can you, like, copy his tactics? Nah. That don't work for us. So, like I said, we need proven. So that's to me. But Stoney, I guess, what's your views though? Like, do you think there's something happened like behind the scenes, or are you just like?
No, I just think probably just to extend on what you were just saying there. I think one thing about Klopp, he's almost he can almost be too transparent. I think when, as you said, when I received the news and I clicked on and started watching everything, my main thing, and I'm just speaking about how I felt, was with his departure, I was unsure whether it was to do with ill health. And that was my main thing. I was just waiting for him just to clarify. And once he mentioned that, that it wasn't to ill health as an individual, I thought, okay, all right, so I got this then, all right. I think what was nice and what was quite refreshing is that you've actually got somebody in a high profile role. He's obviously elite in his profession, and he was honest, and his honesty was saying, I'm tired. And I think sometimes you don't always get that from people. I mean, we always, I'm sure between the panel, we all work in different careers or different professions. If we were to go in and we were to say to our employers, or whether we are employed ourselves and we were to say to our staff, I'm taking it easy now because I'm tired, some people might look at you sideways. But the fact that he was honest to actually say that, for me, that was actually quite refreshing, because what I wouldn't want to have happened was his departure to be similar to what happened as Arsenal. So you've got a legend in Arsene Wenger, and then what had happened is, for a series of reasons over years, he had deteriorated, and the fans for Arsenal almost forgot what Wenger actually did for Arsenal. Whereas Klopp now has basically said, you know what, I'm tired. It's a wrap. I'm going to have to move on. I mean, there's never, for me, the way that I was looking at it as well, Dr. Blake, I don't think there was ever going to be any perfect timing. If he said it at the beginning of the season, whether he said it now or whether he said it at the end of the season, I believe all of our thoughts and our emotions would have been exactly the same. The fact that he said it now allows the club to do whatever due diligence they need to hopefully get the next manager and sporting director and all of the other staff to make sure that we move forward. What I would not want is, when we were at the top of our game in the 70s or 80s, we took our eye off the ball, Premiership came in place with all of the money, and then Man United stepped in. And then it was just a free fall afterwards. That's what I don't want for our club. So, you know, Klopp mentioning it now, it gives the club hopefully enough time to do whatever they need to do to bring in the right manager, whoever that will be. And I'm going to come into that later on in the show. But that's my thoughts on it, Dr. Blake. That's my thoughts. How do you reckon the players are going to take it? I mean, Virgil did a nice little interview afterwards. He was quite open. He was quite transparent as well. And he was saying that the news will galvanize the players. It will galvanize us as supporters. Listen, we're top of the league and we're still in four different competitions. You know what? I think we're in a good place.
Life's good right now.
Our stadium's all right. I'm trying to think our squad is okay. So Klopp's kind of leaving and he's walking through the front door and he's saying, you know what? I'm kind of leaving the club in a good position. And I think we have to be grateful for that, really.
Yeah, and I think, like, this is why, although I'm upset, I don't know if upset's the right word, but like, I know it's difficult to accept he's going, but I think in many ways my respect for him has probably even gone up even higher, because I just think we see it everywhere in different walks of life, in different jobs, industries. People don't like to give up power. Like, once you get it, they don't want to give it up. Like, Wenger had been done for time. They wanted Wenger to get a sporting director to try and move things forward. You'd hear him answer questions. Sporting director, what's that? Like, the guy just wanted to be the main guy in control until he couldn't breathe no more. And as great as he was, he is a key reason why the only success that Arsenal fans have right now is laughing at other teams, because he left them in a terrible position. It's terrible infrastructure, confused transfer strategy. It wasn't clear what was happening. They had at one point Arsenal had a sporting director and a director of football. Like, you sign, I think it was, and I could be wrong with the order here, you sign Lacazette in the summer transfer window. You then sign Aubameyang the following January. This is nonsense. What's your formation? Two very different strikers. They both cost £60 million. Like, what are you going to go 4-4-2? Is this depth? Like, how you got depth and like you're not in the Champions League? Like, what are you doing in it? Like, and I think hence why they're still playing catch up now, because I just feel like Wenger didn't prepare the groundwork. You've got Fergie, who, in my opinion, what Fergie did was he chose to end his reign by cementing his legacy. So let me sign Van Persie, who's 30, so I can win one more league title, as opposed to preparing the grass for the new guys to kind of take over. But I just feel Klopp has prepared things for the next person to take over, and we're in a healthy state. And for me, that's why I give him maximum ratings for that.
And you look at both those clubs, like since both those managers left there, neither of them have won the league.
Thank you.
They
That's
even
so true.
challenged. Okay, Arsenal last season, but then they got diarrhea in April. So then
Yeah.
they challenged. Yeah, go on, Snaps.
No,
That's so true.
going back to your question, Stoney, I think the players are gonna take it pretty well. I think I was really in favor of him announcing it now, after the fact, rather than at the end of the season, because I think it would have been a scramble for like who we appoint, who's the in vogue, in fashion manager, all this recency bias. Like, I feel like we could have really got sucked into like making the wrong appointment. And I hope that Klopp is part of that appointment process. I really do, in a sense that. And it's one thing I rate Klopp for is identifying a manager that's going to sign players that are right for the club. Like Klopp doesn't sign. You never hear about Liverpool players in the papers or like. It's important that we get another manager that cares about that shit. Like I feel like that made such a massive difference. You see so many other teams' players just take the headlines away from what their team's doing because of the foolishness they're doing out off the field.
True. That's so true. And as you said as well, I think during his period of time when he joined us in 2015-16, I think there's a high percentage of players that we've purchased that we have to celebrate, and they've done well for Liverpool. Yes, there's always going to be some players that probably haven't done as well as we would have liked, or if Klopp would have liked, or haven't functioned as well in the team. But I think you're always going to have that small percentage. But I think collectively, I think the players that we've purchased have been good. And I also believe that if we sold them on, we've also made quite a handsome profit on those players as well. So those you'd have things to celebrate as well. But as you said, look, we're top of the league. We're still in full competition, so we're being left in a really good place. And as I said, we've got some months now to put in that groundwork to make sure that we finish off the season on a high note. But just going back to what you were saying there, Marcus, I'm going to ask Marcus a question first and then present it to you as well, Dr. Blake. Managers moving forward, I think in the press conference it was made clear that there's not going to be any announcements or any responses from Liverpool about what managers they are looking to possibly recruit. So we know that they're going to keep quiet on that, and I also think that's going to be quite good. But for yourself, Marcus, who would you possibly like for us to be linked with in terms of a manager, and what managers are out there at the moment that you think can possibly come in and be able to stamp their blueprint on the club? Bearing in mind, I understand that they're going to be completely different than Klopp, and we have to acknowledge and appreciate that. But who would you like to see us being linked with, or who would you like for us to be the next elected manager? So the first question is to Marcus, and I'm going to come to you after is Dr. Blake.
Personally, I feel like it needs to be a Liverpool man, someone who I feel like what Klopp's done with the fans and how he's created that synergy with the fans and the players and the club. But I also want a younger manager personally who's willing to work with a sporting director and a system, because I feel like that's when we were just doing our best work, like when Michael Edwards and Ward were just going out, and Hogan, they were going out and just mashing works, like serious works. Of the obvious choice people are talking about is Xabi Alonso. Outside of that, I've kind of just become transfixed on that. I haven't really looked or thought anywhere else. My other thoughts are there's a good young manager at Sporting, Ruben Amorim. He's doing good things at Sporting. And then the other one I thought about was De Zerbi at Brighton. Outside of those three, I haven't thought. I know some people saying to me about Nagelsmann. I was like, no. My choice would be Xabi Alonso. I've looked at the football he plays at Leverkusen. I think it'll be a change of style. It'll be a change of formation. But I just think he's got a release clause in his contract that allows him to go to Madrid or Liverpool. And I just think, even in his press conference yesterday, they asked him a question like, are you ready to go to Liverpool? And he was like, that's a very direct question, and I don't have the answer for it. I feel like if we came calling, he would feel like he's ready. It's been bestowed upon him, and he will give us his everything. And I just think style of play, but I would want us to have the whole recruitment team in place to support him in that.
Okay, so you're thinking at the moment, you're thinking about possibly De Zerbi or possibly Xabi, you were saying, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Dr. Blake, your thoughts? I'm going to say mine afterwards. I'm going to be quite provocative with some things as well. So I'm going to say mine last.
So, yeah, I think my three are exactly the same. The guy from Sporting, I think, yeah, he's won the league title already. They knocked out Arsenal in the Europa League last season, so that's a win. And apparently they're challenging for the league this year. Now, I don't know much about Portuguese football, but what I did see was that the last time Sporting won the league before he won it 2 years ago was in 2001. So that kind of speaks to the achievement he did in actually winning the league. It's not like he's won it with Porto or Benfica, who normally dominate that league. Like Sporting are like the third team in that league. So I think that speaks to his quality. But he's young though. He's like 38, right? I think for me, Xavi Alonso is the outstanding candidate. I think, yeah, he just ticks too many boxes. Like there's something around that holding creative midfielder that translates to manager, in it. Like Pep, Xavi Alonso. Okay, Gerrard's tried it. Carrick's tried it. Scholes has tried it. Lampard's tried it. All these midfielders, and for some reason, it's almost like a thinking man's position, right? And I just think, yeah, what he's done at Leverkusen is particularly impressive. And if he wins the league in a league that's been dominated by Bayern, if you think about it, the last manager that won the league that wasn't Bayern would have been Klopp. So I think that's a very impressive precedent. But I do like De Zerbi. I'm not gonna lie. I do like De Zerbi. I think
Go ahead. Sorry, I apologize.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I feel with De Zerbi, with me, there is this curiosity that makes me think, with better players, what do you do? Because make no mistake, Brighton, especially last season, they had a few ballers, but they've got some really poor players, Brighton, and he's still doing okay. The fact that, because you've got to look at it like this. Yes, this season they've dropped off a little bit, but they've been managing Europe. Like that's like things like managing Europe. Like that's not just the manager. Like that's the club, the players, the culture. Like these things are difficult. You often see
they top their group as well.
Yeah, well, there you go. And they had Ajax in their group, and someone
it
was Ajax and someone else who was good. I can't think
Marseille.
There you go. So to top that, so I just think, yeah, you give him elite players, and I just feel his style it works well for a big team.
Transcends the club.
Yeah, you're gonna want to dominate the board, and you give him better players. Because who's the English centre back that they've got again? I always forget his name. Dunk, who I think is very good, but he's got Dunk and that other young Dutchie. You give him Kanati and Van Dijk at the back, and Joe Gomez who can play ball. And then you got to think. I watched that game against West Ham. Now, look, they are great pros, but they are tired. He had Lallana in 2023-24 playing as an attacking midfielder, and James Milner playing left wing. Like the guy's mashing works.
Yeah, he's mashing real works.
And I think you have to look at his ability as a manager based on what he's actually working with. So I do think De Zerbi would be, I think he could be very good. But I go back to the point that I think Marcus made. I think for me, though, the key thing is the sporting director of football, or us deciding on what's gonna be like the backroom strategy for the club, because I just feel you've seen that United in terms of, even if it's Ten Hag now, who I just feel like if you put managers into a system that is not helping them, then you don't get the best out of those managers. And I just feel I wouldn't want to give Xabi Alonso the job, who I feel will be our outstanding long-term candidate, if we don't have the mechanisms in place to give him the best chance of winning. So for me, I feel the priority is what's the infrastructure behind the scenes. You want to go back to the old school transfer committee. Personally, I'd bring back Michael Edwards. It just makes sense.
Straight away.
And just get that emotion, because as well as Klopp's done with the recruitment, let's be honest, before Klopp came, we signed Daniel Sturridge, Coutinho, Firmino. Like, they had showed that they were identifying top players. So for me, I trust in that system. So yeah, for me, Edwards and any of them I'll be happy with, but Alonso would be for me like the outstanding candidate.
That's so interesting. Good evening, Anthony Herbert. Anthony said, "Big up, lads. This was a shock. Who's out there that you fans want to take over?" That's what we've been speaking about, Anthony. Anthony is Arsenal historian. He's on one of our other sister channels as well. Extreme knowledge as well. So thanks for tuning in, Anthony.
Just to interject there slightly, because Anthony's normal, but like for some reason, I don't know if it's one of these, like that virus in what's that TV program where they turn into flipping zombies? What's it called again?
The Walking Dead.
That's it, The Walking Dead. I don't know, there's some kind of T virus out there that's affecting these Arsenal fans' minds, isn't it? Because I'm seeing some outrageous things. I see a post on Twitter, someone saying Liverpool, hands off, you can't have Arteta. I'm like, bruv. What kind of Dawn of the Dead, Walking Dead kind of virus is it in your mind right
crazy. Now? No, Anthony's a good guy. Anthony is nice.
He's normal. Yeah, he's normal.
Normal. Anthony is rational. You can have amazing conversations with him as an Arsenal supporter as well. So yeah, mad love, Anthony. Thanks for tuning in. De Zerbi, and you had mentioned Xabi Alonso, right? This is quite interesting. It's a discussion that I've been having in one of my other group again. Both of these managers, and this is not just to you because I'm just speaking generally, right? Both of these managers come in with not much silverware behind them. So even though we understand the way that De Zerbi has a clear blueprint and a philosophy of how he wants to play, we're coming in with a manager that has won the Ukrainian Super Cup winner, and he's won the Italian Cup winners for Serie C in De Zerbi, right? If we're looking at Xabi Alonso, he's managed, I think it was one of the youth teams at Real Madrid, Real Sociedad B, so he got them promoted, not as winners, but he got them promoted, and then they got relegated, and then he's obviously doing good at Bayer Leverkusen. So what I'm asking, and I'm just presenting it, are we then looking for a manager that's going to come into Liverpool that has won nothing, but is going to be coming in to manage an elite club? Would we not want somebody who's got some pedigree behind them, or are we looking at an up-and-coming manager? That's just my question to you, panel, and your thoughts.
I'm going to answer that, but I still want to get your answer on who you want to come in.
Perfect.
Personally,
yeah.
Most of the men that have won things, they're dinosaurs now. They're like, I'll be real. As Zidane coming into Liverpool, I don't see that working.
Marcus, it's like you read my script, because this is the one thing that I've been mentioning in the other groups, and one thing that I'm glad you mentioned. So, we're looking at some examples, and I'm just speaking about in my other groups. Some people were discussing about Graham Potter in some of the other groups. They mentioned De Zerbi that you guys mentioned. They were speaking about Simeone Inzaghi. I think Inzaghi's at Inter Milan at the moment, isn't he? They mentioned obviously Xabi Alonso. They were speaking about Marco Reus, the manager at RB Leipzig at the moment. But the main thing is Zidane. And so my question to you is, do you think at the moment we are in a position to attract the likes of Zidane? Remember, he's not currently employed, and he's won, and we were just speaking about as a manager. He's won everything he's needed to as a manager. Do you think the package that we could present to him could attract him to actually come to Liverpool? Because he would be my preference. Zidane would be my preference. And I believe we could attract him. Your thoughts?
So I think it's a really tricky one, right? Because it's similar to the player debate when it comes to greatness, and people say, yeah, but this player's won eight or nine trophies, and this player's only won one. And I do think the manager one is tricky, because I just feel like I think Zidane is a great manager for Real Madrid. I think he's exceptional at managing egos and just getting the buy-in of top players. I just feel if you look at what he did with Real Madrid and what Benitez did, I think it's night and day. But then if you say to me, who do I think is a better manager? I think Rafa all day, every day, twice on a Sunday. But I do think Zidane works well if you've got big stars, egos, and he can just move them around and just kind of get a sense of buy-in from them. Would I want Zidane for Liverpool? I wouldn't be against it. I'll be honest with you.
If he brings Mbappe, he can come.
Yeah, this is it. I wouldn't be against it, but I just don't know how good. It's weird because I just feel like he's won what 3 Champions Leagues,
four Champions Leagues. Yeah.
But I have no idea of how good I think he is. I really don't. But because I just feel like, yeah, you're right. Like you look at Barcelona. Xavi was managing in was it the Middle East or Japan?
Yeah, UAE or something like that.
So
yeah,
he didn't get that job on merit.
Mm-hmm.
You look what's happening in Germany. Bayern is guaranteed to win it regardless. PSG are guaranteed to win it regardless. So you look at the managers who are winning leagues in Europe, and outside of, I'd probably say Napoli last season. I can't say that I believe there's been a outstanding managerial performance who has managed against the financial powers of the competing teams. So I think, yeah, with managers, you need to have some way of measuring their ability. But I do believe that we've got incredibly smart people in our backroom staff. Well, I feel we'll probably be looking at these types of things, like the manager's stats in terms of their possession stats and shots on target and the kind of scouting that they do or the types of plays that they work with. So I like to think that they've got some type of data or some type of algorithm that will account for how a manager would scale up with better resources. And
that's what makes De Zerbi so impressive for me. I've got to be honest. This guy he's just balling out. They're like, all right, 3 of your best players are gonna go. No problem.
Deal with it.
No problem. And he generally works with a committee. Like they've got their whole recruitment team. They bring the players in, and he just coaches the shit out of them.
And I think, sorry, Max, that's the point. Last season, Solly March was looking like bloody some madman last season. I'm thinking, one point I was just like, is Solly March English? Because Solly March needs a call up. Yeah. And I just think this is the point, isn't it? He gets basic guys that did madness. So, but yeah.
That's what I would be excited to see what De Zerbi would do with a Nunez, a Jota, a Curtis Jones, a Trent. Like that is what I think. This guy, and even when I watch him in press conferences and post-match interviews and stuff, he's not really into the nonsense. He's like, forget all the nonsense. He's like, no excuses. XYZ. This is what we need to do. That's what. Yeah, he don't really get into all the politics and all of that. I feel like he would command the dressing room. He would command the dressing room.
And I think crucially as well, you look how the other managers speak about him. Like they rate him, innit? Like the way they speak about him, they'll say, "Oh yeah, Brighton, best coach team in the world. Like, he's one of the hardest managers to play against. So I feel like he's got the respect of the other managers, which shows you that he's doing something unique. And I just think, look, I've been watching football like for a long time. I've not seen tactics like his. I just haven't seen it.
I'm not gonna lie. This conversation, I've changed my mind. I want the Zerbians.
Jeez, bro. Jeez.
No, I've actually changed.
I'm just gonna throw a little spanner in the works, right? And between this show and, as you said, our normal show is on a Thursday at 10. Marcus, if you're available, communicate with Dr. Blake and reach out to us. Just getting feedback, right? So
100%.
we've mentioned and I'm just speaking about in the other groups and what you guys have mentioned. So in the other groups, I mentioned in Graham Potter, it was mentioned De Zerbi, it was mentioned Simeone and Inzaghi. We mentioned Zidane, Xabi Alonso. In my other group, it was Marcus, Rose, RB Leipzig. And one of the names that kept popping up, and this is the most left field thing. You guys do your own research. In my other group, there was a lot of discussion about Igor Tudor. He used to play for Juve. He was a manager of Hajduk Split, and also he was a manager of Marseille. Marseille finished third. So even though the formation that, you know, some managers are like a blueprint formation that they like playing, right? His is more like a 3-4-2-1. Igor Tudor kept popping up, and I'd say probably in about 6 of my groups, he kept popping up because it's the same thing. He's young, he's 43 as a manager, kept popping up. So for me, with my own research, I'm going to go back to find out really what has Igor Tudor done at Hajduk Split and Marseille for this name to keep popping up in all of my other groups. But this, for some unknown reason, this is a name that keeps popping up as well. Very interesting, and it's the most left field one. But as you said, 5 or 6 of my groups, it keeps popping up as well.
But you know what it is? I just feel like a lot more clubs are using data in their decision making. So I feel like they're like looking at guys who are proving to be outstanding coaches. So I think that there's a lot of these guys who are just good tactically. They're good managers, but they've got a unique way that they see the game. So like I'm not surprised. Actually, like another one that I saw, and I do apologize, his name escapes me. Basically, he is the Palmeiras manager, and he's won 2 Copa Libertadores, and he's won the Brazilian League twice in the last 4 seasons. So he's got 2 South American Champions League and 2 league titles. He obviously, they've got that Endrick who's like the new hot striker from Brazil who's going to Real like in the summer. So he's like works on him as well.
Abel Ferreira.
Yeah, that's the one. Abel Ferreira, that's the one. So I think there's a few, but I feel like this is going to sound a bit, I don't know, but xenophobic. Apologies. I do think there's something around the communication and being able to speak the language.
Okay.
Like, I'm not on a manager who has to communicate via a translator, and I think you need to communicate with the fans in English. Like, I think that's a key factor. And I just think, you need to have those base English skills to kind of communicate. So I wouldn't want somebody who's not fluid in the language. I just don't think that translates. I just feel like we've got too many stars who don't want to be in training and be like, what's he saying? What's he saying? Yeah. That can't run. What I was going to pose a question to both of you, like, and just to kind of step back a second. Not just regards how the players would be feeling, but are there concerns about any particular players that may want to move on now Klopp's gone, do you think?
I'm just going to say it, the elephant in the room, Mohamed Salah. I think come the summer, it's going to be more than just Klopp was saying goodbye to you. I think if the money comes in for him, the club are going to take it.
Yeah.
Salah's going to be like, what's keeping me here?
Yeah,
especially if we're successful. Like,
for you.
What is keeping him there?
Stoney?
That's good. Before I answer that, I just wanted to welcome Sims to the show. Good evening, Sims. He's saying, yes, gents. Salute to you, sir. And we were congratulating Anthony Herbert for being an Arsenal supporter and
Who ain't got
giving
the
us
virus?
rational comments, and then he comes out with his comment. I did read it was Mourinho. Definitely not Anthony. Not one bit.
Could you imagine? FSG out straight away. FSG out straight away. Marching down there.
Do you know, even with that question that you just presented to us as well, Dr. Blake, about players, you know, potentially may not be there. I think even before Jurgen Klopp's announcement, my feelings on Salah hasn't changed. And my feelings with Salah is he's come at Liverpool for a project. I think he's been successful as part of that project, and he's going to move on at some time. So whether it's at the end of this season or next season or the season after, because I think he's got 18 months on his contract anyway, he will move on. And when he does move on, he will still be regarded as a legend. So even if he now thinks that at the end of the season, Klopp and the coaching staff are moving on and it's a new project, I'm confident we're going to get some nice money from him. If he does go to Saudi, it will be about him being able to accept that that league is not going to be as good as Liverpool, but I mean, as the Premier League, but he's gone over there for a different reason. Example, Ronaldo's gone over there to promote the Saudi league and everything around it. So I think if Salah moves on, he'll go out there as an ambassador to promote the Saudi league. He won't go out there blinkered knowing that it's not going to be as good as the Premier League. But your initial question was, what players do we think will be affected by it? And I agree with what Marcus has just said.
Well,
I just believe it will be Salah. I mean, we know Thiago's going to move on anyway. I played more games for Liverpool this season than Thiago, so he ain't really going to be a loss. But I think it will just be like Thiago will move on and Salah. Other than that, I believe the other players, at least for the next 2 or 3 years, will still be part of the project. Players going into the last 18 months is just going to be Virgil and Van Dijk anyway. So I still think it's going to
Trent, Mo, and Virgil, yeah,
and Virgil.
But I think Mo, I think Trent and Virgil as captain now they're going to extend. I don't see Virgil looking at going anywhere else. Like at 32, like where are you going to go to? Like there's now question marks about who he is, and I just think that whole hype that all other clubs might have been like, now's the time to get him. I just think that's past. I think he's a Liverpool man through and through. Same with Trent, like unless he feels somewhere like Real Madrid could do better for him. But I just think those two, I think they will definitely extend. I was going to pose a question about Mo. Would you rather see Mo see out his contract and we get no money for him in 18 months' time, or come this summer we get 80, 90 mil for him from Saudi?
And you know, I absolutely love that question. Before I answer it, Marcus, welcome Ravi to the show. Big up the Liverpool gang. We need a bad boy manager that's gonna make us on top of the world like Brandy and Mace. We can't be getting no flavor of the month manager like De Zerbi and them Mandays. Listen, I agree with you, Ravi. I think we've spoken about it on the panel. You know, we've spoken about De Zerbi, we've spoken about Zidane, we've spoken about Xabi Alonso, we've spoken about Abel Ferreira and the gentleman from Sporting Lisbon. So you know, we're confident that whatever manager our club that we love end up signing, it's going to be in the interests of Liverpool. But we'll watch this space, Ravi. So Marcus, going back to your question, would I prefer to see us cash in and get some money from Mo, or let him move out, leave on a free?
Yeah.
My feelings with Mo is the same thing with Bobby. Bobby's came in for a project. He's left as a legend. If he leaves and we don't get no money, it's nice. So yeah, same thing with Salah. If he sees out his contract and we don't get no money, we're still in a good position. If he leaves and we get 80 million, even if we get £10 from him, then we'll still be nice. I think in terms of finance, if we were to get some money from us for him, I think it will help us. But I don't think we're broke. So either way, I'm comfortable. Salah don't have to go nowhere. And I don't think we're having to run down any club for any money. That's just how I feel about it anyway. So either way, I'm comfortable.
I'd sell him simply because I think with this new FFP, I say the new one, I can't think of what the new term was. It profit and sustainability metric, whatever it's called. I just think the books make a lot more sense now. I mean, like there's more emphasis on the actual book. So I just think if you can get £90 million for him and you're taking off 350 grand from your wage bill for a 32-year-old who is still very good, but I think sometimes we need to move past this whole idea. And I think Klopp's proof. You don't need to sell someone or get rid of someone when they're past it. You can like you can still get rid of a good player and that's okay. And I just think depending on who the manager is, what Mo offers becomes a bit less important. So we know Xavi Alonso plays this like 3-4-2-1 with the whole 2 inside number 10s. So
Mo doesn't really become that important.
Yeah, and I just think if Darwin does what Darwin can do in Marky, like we're gonna have a show probably next week, Thursday or the week after, we're gonna be talking about Carragher's comments on who's the best Liverpool finisher since Fowler. But just a little side note to that. But if Darwin can hit better numbers, I also feel that the reliance on Mo is reduced further because look, Mo's got 14 goals this season, amazing. 4 of those had been penalties. We've got better penalty takers in the team than Mo, in McAllister and Szoboszlai. Statistically, doesn't mean that they can handle it like in those big moments. I just feel replacing Mo, the winger, who's gonna kind of get assist and chip in with goals, I think that's a lot more easier than what we needed Mo to do, say 2 and 3 seasons ago. So
Mo's so underrated when it comes to his contribution to our output.
Yeah, he's class.
He's not like he's scoring less goals, but he's making more goals.
Yeah, assist is class. He's class.
Like I just think I don't think Darwin Núñez is ever going to be that person that we think he's going to be.
No, man.
And I just think keeping Mo until he bloody retires makes sense. Like the guy in the Premier League is ridiculous.
Yeah, he's class. He's absolutely
ridiculous. And I think as long as Pep Guardiola's at Man City, we should keep Mo Salah.
I hear that. Yeah. I hear that. No, listen, I wouldn't. Yeah, I don't feel strongly about. I know we need to sell him. I don't feel strongly at all like that. But I guess I probably would accept the money for him because I think even if we get a De Zerbi who wants his wingers to kind of be there and hold the width and come in, I just don't think Mo is that gets the best out of him. But yeah. So I think in regards to the question that I asked, I have no reason to say this, but I think the one player that I do worry about is Alisson, simply because I just feel like
he's irreplaceable.
Yeah, I don't know how we replace Alisson. And I have no reason to think that he would leave if Klopp was to go, but he is the one that I do worry about. I'm fully invested in Van Dijk binding to the club. He's captain now. He's like, finally going to do this. I want to show them that shouter wasn't like he wasn't important. So I think Van Dijk wants to cement his own legacy now as captain. So I'm good. Yeah, I don't think he's going to leave. I do think.
Where does Alisson go? Like Barca got to Stegen, Real got Courtois, Bayern got Neuer.
That's a great point. So maybe for me, it's not that I think he might go. It's more that's my biggest fear. I look in the market, I look at how great I think he's been, a generational keeper for me. I just think, he would be very hard to replace. But I think but I'm confident that our key players do do stay. I do think Trent's an interesting one though, because I feel like
the glitz and the glamour could side eye.
no, you know what? I think it's more the tactical direction that a manager would have for him. So I know that Xabi Alonso plays with like wing backs and they get like they're really, really attacking. But I don't think Trent's on all that. I don't think Trent wants to be a attacking fullback or a winger or a wide player who's got cover. I think Trent wants to play centrally now. So I feel a key part for Trent's trajectory is going to be around like, how do you see my game in the next couple of years? It might be, look, like I don't have the options right now, so I want to keep you there until I can find someone to play fine. But I think long term, Trent wants to play in midfield. So
I think Alonso would have time for that though.
Makes sense. Could you imagine?
He would have time for that.
Can you imagine if Trent's ability, passing technique, and then if Xabi Alonso just to finesse that, just that little bit
It's
more.
like what I see Alonso doing with Xhaka at Leverkusen. Like Trent would absolutely destroy that position. Like everything goes through him. He recycles everything. Do you know what I mean? Like they hold positions to make space for him to receive the ball in space. Like at Liverpool, it's kind of like Trent is like, get in there and you make your own space to get on the ball. But
true.
Yeah, be interesting, man. Be
interesting. So much there, so much to think about, so much thoughts. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in this week for a special edition of Cop Talk. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Sorry, I'm just going to stop very, very quickly. Slightly different question. Who do you think will get the job?
Who do I think will get the job?
Yeah.
Zinedine Zidane.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Roberto De Zerbi. Like, as much as I think they would want Alonso to come in as a Liverpool man, I don't think he'll leave Leverkusen this quickly because I think he's still learning. It's his first job. And I think De Zerbi's got the Premier League experience, the European experience. He's shown what he can do in the Premier League, the toughest league. And I think they could get De Zerbi to work with the team as well, with the transfer team. I think De Zerbi will get the job.
Dr. Blake?
I think Alonso, because of his connection with the fans, and I think FSG will be like mindful of ensuring that there's a manager who's going to still have that same kind of Klopp effect. And yeah, they may be on a slight PR offensive, and you know what I mean. If there's a few rumors that Klopp's leaving, like because of them, and they want to give him due better. Yeah, who knows? But I do think Xavi being an ex-player, I think will sway it for him, especially.
Do we also have to be mindful? And I think, like we've all agreed so far on the show, we've got enough time between now and the end of the season. And I think for us, I think we have to be mindful of not making an emotional appointment. And that's where I think, for me, I'm still a little bit apprehensive about signing Xabi Alonso so early. And that's my own real main concern. I think Bayer Leverkusen are doing amazing in the league. That record that they've got and they sustained already is just like absolutely amazing. But it's his first season in a top flight. So I do agree about De Zerbi coming in, doing what he needs to do. And, you know, I've mentioned it previously, won the Ukrainian league and, you know, the title in Serie C. But this is Xabi Alonso was Real Madrid's youth development and then Real Sociedad now. However, that does not mean that he didn't get any of that experience. It doesn't mean that. And, you know, if we do the flip side, Gerrard's actually won more silverware as a manager than Xabi Alonso.
Jesus.
But Gerrard in the conversation. If you want to put it as brutal as that, you see what I'm trying to say? But Gerrard is not even in the conversation. And I'm just saying, I don't want him in the conversation.
No.
So, do you know what? It's nuts to believe in it because, like all Stevie had to do was not be terrible.
Yeah.
Once he left Rangers, all he had to do was just not be terrible, and he would be in a conversation right now. Like he might not get picked,
just too many stories from the players about him. Like it looked real bad, man.
Yeah. I just think Emery's killed him in it. What Emery's done with that safety for players is absolutely it's just killed Gerrard's reputation, isn't it? Because
and that's the reality. The grass is not always greener on the other side. You know, you're right. He possibly, we don't know what was happening behind the scenes at Rangers, but he possibly could have stayed an additional season at Rangers just to try and cement some of his own knowledge and his own experience in the game. But look, we'll never know. He followed a different path.
What about Emery?
Emery ain't going nowhere with a project at Villa. Emery's a good manager, but I believe that project at Aston Villa is not finished. You know that now. I'm not trying to question the difference between an elite club in us and Aston Villa, but I couldn't see that. I definitely couldn't see that. I do like him as a manager, but I definitely couldn't see that.
You know what? Quickly before I know we're going to go, I think any good Liverpool manager has had that connection with the fans, even if it's disintegrated, like Benitez, Houllier, Klopp, like any good Liverpool manager, like that connection with the fans. Like Benitez is still loved on Merseyside. Do you know what I mean? Like it's these people. You have to invest in the city and the club. Like you have to.
That's so true.
It's true. And Xavi's got that still. Yeah, Xavi's got that. Man still, like Xavi's got his song still there, innit, guys? He won the Champions League on the penalties and
Dr. Blake, Dirk Kuyt still got his song at Anfield, and he's still a manager. I'm gonna be doing this to you guys. You know what I'm like already. I'm provocative like that, man. You know what I mean? The scene has gone out there and he's managed afterwards. Reese has gone out there afterwards and he's managed afterwards. There's been a lot of ex-players. And for me, I'm just not going to have any form of emotional attachment with any player that's played for the club before. And I think as an individual, I just have to be mindful for that because I keep going back at the beginning of the show. We mentioned about when we were Liverpool, we're at the top of our game in the 70s and the 80s. And we were rightfully the kings, but we dropped off because we thought we couldn't get caught. Man United came in the fold and we were left behind. And then the same thing happened at Arsenal. I do not want that to happen. So I don't want an emotional appointment. And more so, it's not just the manager. Like we've said, it's the manager, it's the additional coaching staff, it's the sporting director. Whatever appointment we need to make now has to be a package. So that's just my thoughts.
So then if Klopp's being, and in my opinion, rightfully compared to Bill Shankly in terms of just like reviving the club, I know Shankly kind of started it, but Klopp's like revived it and set us up and made us competitive, systems in place. If there was anyone who could do the Paisley role, which is a big thing, and win actually more than Klopp, but based on the foundations that Klopp's cemented, who would that be? So I think for you, so Stoney, you're saying Zidane could come in and just win trophies, you feel?
Yeah.
So I don't see De Zerbi winning trophies, if I'm being honest. It's weird.
That's what I'm saying. And that's why I can't be going for De Zerbi. And you know, Marcus just said something, and I didn't even think about it, you know. What Marcus mentioned was that manager doesn't just have to come in to win, but you have to understand the city and the fans. So you're making me now rethink, maybe that's not Zidane then. So you're messing with my mind already, but I'm still going with Zizou.
If Zidane was, I don't know, like willing to come in and embrace the city, he'd be a massive appointment. The players we would be able to attract.
That's mad still. That's the biggest draw.
It would be ridiculous.
Marcus, you asked about Mbappe, you know, brother.
Bro, I'm just, but I feel like he couldn't come in and do
what he wanted to do.
It's all about me thing. You know, he couldn't do that.
But apparently he's quite a humble dude, Zidane.
Yeah, that's what I think. He wasn't really like that at Real, though.
Yeah,
and you know what? As much as you said, Dr. Blake, about him being able to manage the dressing room and the egos, and you just don't really know what he does as a manager. Like, what is his thing? That Real Madrid was just very controlling. Like, they controlled games. Like, they just, and then they killed you.
Yeah.
Like Modric, Casemiro, Cruz, they controlled the game, and then they killed you.
It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true.
It's food for thought, isn't it?
Sorry, okay, my last one. Apologies. Thinking about what a player's like, I know all players are different. With all the names that we mentioned so far, who do you think the players would want?
Do you know? I think there's
I think the players would want
so many different.
Yeah,
and you know, I think there's so many players with different. If we think of our squad at the moment, all right, I think the reason why I believe that we're blessed, we've got senior players. Sorry, we've got elite players. We have senior players. We have a lot of internationals. And we also have a lot of young players and also a lot of academy players. All right. So that means we've got a cross spectrum of players there that are still learning their trade, some that are at the top of their trade. Collectively, they all want to be inspired. So I think they're going to want somebody who's got pedigree and somebody who's going to want stature. I also believe as a club, the reason why I believe that we're going to want somebody with a little background is we're coming in to make sure we stay ahead of Arsenal. We're making sure that we stay ahead of Chelsea because Chelsea are still developing. And we still have to make sure we are competitive with Man City. We cannot afford to have any form of drop-off. I mean, Man City must be sitting there licking their lips at the moment. It's going to work in two ways. Pep's going to be sitting there thinking, crumbs, I've got nobody to push me and drive me. So we're just going to, you know what I mean, just put it into fifth or sixth gear and just leave everybody now. Or they can become demotivated. We have to make sure that a manager and collectively the team come in to make sure we continue what Klopp's left. If you think of it, right? Klopp may have only have won one league, right? And he may have only have won one Champions League. But we got to 3 Champions League finals.
Exactly.
Look, you understand what I'm saying, Marcus? And even if you think of it, when Man City beat us a couple of times in league, it was by 1 point. How on earth do you push? And you know, bearing in mind, we had none of the financial resources that Man City had. Absolutely none of the financial resources Man City had. And Klopp was still able to do that. So whatever manager that comes in
today, I was like,
you understand? Whatever manager that comes in, they have to hit the floor running.
Yeah, he's been to 3 Champions League finals. He's got 3 90-point seasons and lost the league by 1 point on the last.
That's what I'm saying.
Twice.
Europa League final.
He's been to 2 Carling Cup finals, Europa League final, FA Cup final. I'm just like, what I could have won is
that's what I'm saying. He has broken records. Even if you think of like some of the points that were actually, you know, won in the league. Remember that season where a couple of seasons ago where Man City and Liverpool were going toe to toe. Man City, every game Man City won, Liverpool won. Every game Liverpool won, Man City won. That is competition. Whatever manager comes in, mentally, they have to be ready for that. And we've said it time and time again. We are an elite club. So whatever manager that comes in, they have to be elite. I don't want no hurry come up. Yeah, I don't know man that is just serving his apprentice. That's not good enough for me as a person. I can't. I'm not going to entertain that.
Because also as well, see when you check it, you see the year when City won, so our first major title challenge to City. So we got 99 points, yeah? I think it was that.
No, City got 98, we got 97.
Okay, the year that we so
won
that was
the
our
Champions League, yeah.
So if you check it, we get 97 points and we win the Champions League. Like that's mad levels. Now, going back to City's flipping cheating, and these man need to get caught because when I'm seeing these like Deloitte football stats, and Man City have got the biggest commercial operation in the world, but we all go on holiday. We've been to various places, Thailand, Europe, South America, Africa. I don't see no one in no Man City blazed shirt in it. I don't see Man City fans in it, but it is what it is. But the point is, that season when we got the 97 points, the level of cheating that they're doing in terms of just their squad. So their forward line, I was looking at this. Bernardo Silva, because back then he's been mainly used as like a winger, like he played in
the left forward position he was playing as well.
But yeah, so they had Bernardo Silva, Jesus, Kun Aguero, Sterling, Sane, and Mahrez. Come on, man! Like what the hell is that? That's your forward options.
Yeah.
And if you check it, that season, I think their last game of the season was against Brighton. And Mahrez comes off the bench, I believe, in the second half, and then he scores a goal and he does the Mahrez thing. So I just feel like when all we've got back then was a great first 11, maybe 2 or 3 quality depth options, and they've got those 6 attackers alone. Like, we haven't even dealt with their midfield and defense. Just like, I feel Klopp's performed crazy miracles, but I do believe the Klopp legacy, the Klopp genius, and why I see Klopp as the Shankly is whoever takes over from Klopp is in a much better position than what Klopp was back then.
Yeah, 100%.
And actually, we're so far ahead.
Definitely.
And our squad's a lot better. Stadiums, because what? Anfield used to be 44,000, and now with the new stadium, it's going to be 62.
Exactly.
So I feel like in many ways, Klopp's legacy has been able to compete against crazy levels of kind of flipping cheating. Let's just call it out.
I was thinking today, like, would I even want those titles if they got stripped of them? But I was like, you know what? For Klopp, take them.
Of course,
he deserves to have 3 league titles. Do you get what I'm saying?
If you get 97 points, you have to win the league, man. As far as I'm concerned.
All I'm saying is, do a Lennox Lewis, take the belts out the bin, because all it basically means is that they don't belong to Man City. I don't feel no way.
Of course.
You will have other supporters calling us bin dippers or whatever. You know what? If Man City are going to be out there performing skullduggery and get away with it, and then you've got Everton and Forest that are getting dot points and XYZ because they haven't got as much lawyers and solicitors as Man City, then so be it. So be it.
I agree still.
So be it. But listen, gents, it's been an absolutely amazing show. I can only thank you for taking time out of your own busy schedule for coming on to Klopp Talk. For everybody tuning into the show, we will return as normal next week, Thursday at 10 p.m. We will be discussing on that show the results of the Norwich-Liverpool game, which takes place tomorrow on Sunday. And we'll also be speaking about Jota and some of the comparisons with some of our other elite forwards and strikers that have played for Liverpool. So, Dr. Blake, I can only thank you for joining in the show, sir.
It's been great, man. Well, sad times, but hey, we must endure, We must endure.
Man. We're going to be all right, man. I'm confident.
Yeah, we are. I'm going to play some like American gospel tunes, like just to kind of like take me home and all that. So, yeah.
And you know what? I as devastating as the news was, I think on reflection, it has to be a period of celebration for us because
100.
You know, it has to be a period of celebration and appreciation for what Klopp and everybody else has done for our club, and that's what's going to keep me motivated and continue to love the club that we are heavily invested in. Marcus, thank you very much, sir, for tuning into today. And we look forward to seeing you on future shows of
man.
Talk.
Definitely.